In this video, I tell you all about my new Cruzbike S40. Right, here I am with my Cruzbike S40. Let me tell you about the features of the bike and what makes it special. So you can tell that it is a front drive bike. That's what makes this bike special, in that most recumbent bikes, your pedals are up front obviously, but you have a long chain that drives a rear wheel. Now this one, it is front drive, so that'll give you some special capabilities, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. This boom is fully adjustable, so it adjusts as a unit front to back right here at this point, but it also will adjust the length of the boom itself, shorter and longer with this point. So that allows you to adjust the pedals forward and backward, and also the handlebars forward and backward. So full adjustability. The website says this bike will fit people anywhere from 5'2" to 6'5", I think, as is. And I think there's even more capabilities if you're out of that range. So lots of good geometry and design went into this bike, and I'll tell you more about that as I talk about the riding experience later. This is an aluminum bike, and it makes it very, very light. In fact, the center of gravity you would think would be right here, but it is actually way up here. It's like right here. So that the back is very light, because you really just have a little bit of aluminum and then the tire. And I've got some extra stuff back here, water and things, but yeah, the center of gravity is way up here. So it makes for a lighter bike, faster bike. Really love it. Let's see, we've got disc brakes. We've got SRAM components all over. I see SRAM Apex up here, SRAM Rival, SRAM GX. So lots of good components. They feel nice. They respond really nicely. As far as I've got some 700 by 32 tires on here right now, but you could go with more of a road tire, something smaller and tighter. So you could go that route. And I'll tell you a little bit more about how I've accessorized the bike. All right, let me tell you how I've accessorized the bike. So I've done a few things, not too much though. First thing I'll mention is we've got a phone mount right here. It's just a cheap Amazon purchase. I think it's the Andoble brand, $20 to $30, and it's nice and sturdy, so I think it'll do fine. And I've got it in kind of a landscape configuration here, but you can twist this to then make it more of a portrait, but it makes it easier to get into the bike this way. so I like it. I've got a pretty cheap little mirror for rear view. I like it on the left side here in the United States because we are riding on the right shoulder of a road, so you can look behind you for cars that are coming from behind. So yeah, it just straps right on here. So it's a little aftermarket. Let's head back here. I added this top tube bag right here, the Rock Bros, and that just is strapped to the back headrest. But yeah, it's just a top tube bag, and I think it's nice and aerodynamic. It's a good placement, and it fits my repair kit, so good option. It's water resistant, so kind of checked all the boxes for me. And I put a red light up here, nice bright red light, for riding at night or early or late with poor visibility. I purchased the Cruzbike bottle holders. I have 2 of them, and it on this bike with this seat, it requires little spacers, so I just bought all of that on the Cruzbike website. And yeah, good water capacity, so you got 2 bottles there, and it's still very nice and aerodynamic and tucked away. And you know, I know how to ride this bike nice and easily now, so I can reach back there and drink as I ride. So it's a good little situation. So that's all I have for back here, but I do also have an adjustable rack so that I can put some panniers on here and perhaps do like a bike packing trip. So I already have that rack, and I can just mount them to these points here. So very nice. Moving up to the front, I think this is the last thing I've done, is I purchased this little peg that mounts to the frame right here from the Cruzbike website, and this aftermarket cheap light is mounted to that, so it allows me some good visibility for riding at night. And that's it. All right, now let's talk about the ride experience. And what better way to do that than actually ride and tell you about it. So, as you may know, I had a Bashetta Giro 20. So that's been the experience I've been used to. So I was just kind of ready for something new. So I bought this bike, and I've loved it. The Bashetta was a great bike. I was just ready for something new. So I'm not saying one is better than the other. It's just really, I was just ready for something, for a change. So we have this, and what I love about this bike is that it's a great seat angle. So very nice and comfortable. I could see riding this for 100 miles and not have an issue with the seating position. The seat is nice and contoured. It took me about 10 miles to get comfortable riding this. It's a front wheel drive, so as you can imagine, as your legs are pushing against the pedals, it affects the steering. So it's a little bit different than what I was used to with the Bashetta. So that took me about 10 miles to get used to. Now, it was rideable in the first 5 minutes, so it took me like 5 minutes to learn how to ride it, but then 10 miles to get comfortable. And then I would say at about 90 to 100 miles, I was able to get, like, it became second nature. So it's not even a thought anymore in terms of how to ride it. You can see I'm riding with one hand on the steering on the handlebars. So yeah, it's nice and comfortable, and the learning experience is not too bad. So what I like about the front drive is how I can generate more power, more than I can with just my legs. I can pull on the handlebars like an experienced cyclist, racer, how they could drive their body by pulling on the handlebars down into the pedals. So you actually have that capability with this bike. You can drive your entire body through the pedals and generate more power for things like climbing hills. So really cool. Yeah, and I like how light the bike is. I'm not sure what the actual weight is. It's like 25 pounds or something, something like that. So really nice. And I'll kind of spoil it for you. I'll do another video on performance comparison with some of the other bikes I own, like a road bike and maybe with the Bachette I used to have, so you can kind of get an idea what this bike would do for you performance wise. But I will just spoil it by saying I'm faster. I am faster on this bike. So really cool. All right, let me give you some tips on how to ride the Cruzbike S40. At least from my perspective, I've ridden probably 120 to 150 miles on this bike. So not an expert, but this is what works for me. Is I just need a little bit of light pressure on the handlebars, just a light grip, just to kind of keep things straight. And you can see I'm able to do that with one arm. And I'm not even straining. So it's just kind of some light pressure on that, light grip, and that's enough for me. And one thing I learned is when I first learned, so within the first 10 miles, I learned that really your legs are helping you steer. That's probably the biggest tip that I haven't heard before, is that your legs are actually helping you steer. In fact, I understand that you can steer with your legs, so you can go hands-free and steer with your legs if you get good enough. But that's what I found is, going from the Bachette, I just laid back and started pushing with my legs. That I really didn't have to think about driving the pedals affecting the steering. But the Cruzbike kind of brings that together. So the driving power is also helping with the steering. So it's kind of a different concept from anybody that's ridden more traditional bikes, but that's true. And not only that, but it helps you generate more power. So really awesome. And you can see me in action. This is after about 120, 150 miles, and just light grip here. And I'm able to comfortably ride the Cruzbike. So it's an easy learn. So hopefully that encourages you, and I'm gonna keep riding.